So, greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Giving Gap TV. I am Tina Terrell Brown, a VP of Marketing and Communications for Giving Gap. And we are in our hashtag Audacious campaign series where we're talking to powerful and bold Black women leaders in the nonprofit sector. And today I am joined by Miss Jade Rogers, who is the founder and Chief Innovation Officer of the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls. Jade, we're so thrilled to have you here today. I'm just going to start off diving in about you sharing a little bit about your journey and sort of the mission of the house.
Okay, well, I am Jade Rogers. I am an historian, an educator, and now nonprofit leader. The House of, yes. The House of Afros, Capes, and Curls, our mission is to bring people together based on a shared love and interest in sci-fi, fantasy, comics, gaming, tabletop gaming, and Afrofuturism.
Beautiful, lovely. And that's so different and unique. So when we first talked, as you know, I was like, oh, we gotta dive into this. We gotta hear more about this. So can you just tell us a little bit about how this came to you, and just sort of what that journey looked like building up into building out the organization?
I have my entire adult life worn two hats and been split between education, whether that was K through 12 education, or higher ed, and nonprofit work. I worked in a lot of organizations that served youth throughout the community. In the beginning of my academic career, that never ended. I helped to create youth programs for nonprofits, to create different programming for nonprofits. So mostly around education. But because I am a nerd and I don't mind people knowing that I'm a nerd, I tended to infuse things in for the kids because I knew that they were interested in certain things. The way that the house started, I had moved back home in 2008 to take care of my parents. I'd been gone from the community for a number of years and wanted to see what was happening, see what the needs were, and then get activated again. And I found myself having to go to mixers and things like that. Nothing seemed to just fit for that time in my life. It's like, I don't want to have to do the suit and the heels and the business card and certificate. I don't want to do that. So when I would go to places like the game shop or comic book stores, I saw people engaged in space with their friends on a Tuesday night playing games or having deep conversations about comic books or whatever it was. But I never saw anyone that looked like me. And so I started to question, why don't we engage in these spaces? Because I want to meet up with my friends on a Tuesday night and play board games. And so it started in my house. I named it the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls because I was watching Game of Thrones. And I wanted a house that reflected me and all of my friends of various ethnicities. And I didn't want anyone to feel like they were not included. So it's Afros, capes, if you don't have any hair, your hair is straight, or curls. So that's where the name came from. And I started having game nights in my house, and it quickly grew out of my house because people were coming I did not know. And I moved into community spaces. So that's really where we started. After a major event, I realized people seem to be hungry for something different, and maybe all of these nerdy things that I'm introducing people to and talking about could be something more. So the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls began its journey into nonprofit work, sort of kicking and screaming. But the need in the community became bigger than my fear or frustration in having to write grants and do business acumen with the nonprofit. Because people were asking, so what's next? What are you doing next? Can we do this? Can we go here? Can we go to the Renaissance Fair? Can we go to Comic-Con? Can we, like, just all of these things? It's like, realized that so many people wanted to do this and didn't find a way to engage, because if you are a person of color in a predominantly white area, you are confronted on a daily basis with spaces where you don't know how you're going to be received or treated. So going into those comic book shops and those game stores, I was really comfortable doing that, knowing I'm going to probably be the only woman or the only person of color in this space for this time. Probably the only one that's come in today, maybe all week. But not everyone had that same level of comfort. So we just wanted to create spaces where people could come and talk about all the nerdy things that we like and love in a space that was safe for everyone.
I love that. And I love that you literally took something that you were passionate about, right, and turned it into something real. And you literally identified a gap and filled it, which is super dope. Because sometimes, it's easy to create something when there's sort of a template, there's somebody else already doing it, but you really created something that I honestly have not heard of, right? And so that's super dope. And also shout out to the fact that you are in Omaha. So this is my good Midwest sister. We have to shout that out. Midwest stand up. Okay.
Yeah.
So I love that. So that even adds just another layer of Black woman, historian, educator in the Midwest, right? There's so many layers there. I love that. So talk to me, Jade, about the fact that you have the comfort level to walk into these spaces and be the only, but knowing that others may not. Let's hear about some of the challenges or barriers you face with sort of getting this off the ground to begin with.
We had a lot of naysayers in the beginning, people that said, this is never going to work. The first major event that was my, like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it, was AfroCon. And I said, there's no reason why. I know 100 people that wish they could go to Comic-Con. We all live in Omaha, Nebraska, but we have friends that make things and we have conversations. Is not just convening and having those conversations and dressing up and then having a couple of vendors and some food trucks, is that not a con? So we set out to plan AfroCon, and I had a lot of people that said this is never going to work. Black people are not going to buy in. White people are going to give you pushback. Just all sorts of barriers that people threw up, and that's not my problem. Whatever anybody thinks is not going to work is not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of funding is my problem, and trying to convince people was not the actual issue in the beginning. In the beginning, I had people, and I still don't know all of them because they were anonymous, ironically, that were giving us money to do things because they were nerds. Like, they were in different sectors, business sectors in the community or philanthropic sectors, and they were nerds. And so they could sort of see the vision. So the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls is really interesting in that from the very beginning, I knew that it was something that was needed, and there were enough people around me that were chiming in and saying, yes, we need this. And there were people in the philanthropic community in the beginning that were also like, yeah, that's cool. Do that thing. Here's some money. Going forward, and you have to get more people because you need more. Now I need a salary. Now, all of these things I had not even dreamed would be possible became possible in a really short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to come up with the pitch, like, how do I pitch this? So I don't have to pitch it as anything other than what it is. We are trying to bring people together and create a safe space for Black people. Black people are always my target. And I tell people, even, wherever I am, the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls, my target is always Black people, because we're never the target in any of these spaces.
Mm-hmm.
But with us come all of our friends. So anyone that is in alignment with us is welcome to come as well. So the funding sources now have to be different. and I have to navigate, no, we don't do hair. That's not what this is about. And you would be surprised at how many people will come up at a community event, if I have a table, and start telling me about their friend who has a biracial child or a Black adopted child, and ask me, about hair. And I'm like, honey, I don't know. I don't do hair. We don't do hair. I actually had t-shirts one year that said, we don't do hair.
No, Jade, that's funny. I mean, that makes sense. They're just like, hey, my hair's fried. Jade, can you help me?
They saw Afro, and that was it.
That was it.
It doesn't matter how all the nerdy things that I have on the table and not a comb in sight. But, I love the people.
We love the people. We love the people.
But so that was the first barrier in, letting people know exactly what it is. And then continuing to let people know exactly what it is that we do. And it's not just for kids. The first game nights, people think that, it was all about kids. I had to beg people to bring their kids to the game night because they were leaving them at home. We created the youth program because no one was bringing their children. So those are just a couple of the challenges that we have had in spreading what we do, and then also asking for people's money.
It's a thing. I mean, every chat I've had with these nonprofit leaders, the money, right? We got to have people that cut the check at some point. Yeah. So let me pivot just a little bit, Jade. So it became a thing, right? So you filled the need, it blossomed, it bloomed. As Chief Innovation Officer, I think it speaks for itself, but can you talk to me about some of the innovative and creative ways that you have sort of looked to keep things going, to keep things fresh and exciting?
Everything that we do is something that hasn't been done. So that part is easy.
Okay.
Our signature events, that's really where we start, is with events. And I, in the beginning, said, I'm really just a glorified event planner. That's what I'm doing. But the events are truly very dynamic events, so that even in AfroCon, we have workshops going and conversations and presentations and panels all at the same time. There are vendor markets and kids activities and all of these things happening simultaneously, because I don't necessarily like going places if I know I'm going to be bored. And so I try to create something for me. And what I have found is creating it for me, that kid that's going to be like, okay, after 10 minutes of this, I'm done. I want to do something else. Then I find a nice mix of things for everybody to jump in wherever they feel comfortable. And then there's always something more to do. So our signature events have become very dynamic. The Juneteenth Steampunk Tea Party, we are the largest Black steampunk event in the country, because nobody was doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of everything that we're doing. Even our youth program, they're the Young History Detectives. So they learn history in the summertime for fun, and they learn to research for fun. I infuse a lot of other things in there, but in the beginning, and this is interesting, because I've worked with kids most all of my life, I thought that I had to really reel them in with games and play and other things. And the first group of kids that I had, they were sort of my prototype for the Young History Detectives. I set aside, okay, so we'll do, the actual lesson that you're going to learn, or person or thing or theme or whatever first, and then the research time, and then a dedicated time for play and games. And the first 3 weeks, they continually said, we don't have time for the games. Let me finish this. Let me finish writing this up. And it was all of them. And these kids are in elementary and middle school at that point. And none of them were really interested in stopping the research to play the games. And I realized, okay, I guess I don't need a fun hook, because once they see themselves in this history,
Yeah.
and they're researching people that look like them. They're already interested. That's fun. So the games became secondary.
Wow. That's really incredible when you think about that. And again, we always talk about representation matters, right? When you see yourself, that's the hook right there.
Yeah.
That's like the gateway. I want to be involved now. So with that said, so we got the events, but on day to day, Jade, so what are some of the just regular spaces that are created, how folks can engage on a day-to-day basis with the house?
We have programming monthly. And so like for March, February was a big month. We had a lot of things between our nap night, our game night, and we had an Umoja event, which is a Black history celebration for African, African American, Afro-Latino, and Afro-Caribbean people, because we have Black History Month events, and we often do not include anyone that is Black and not born in America.
Right.
And those people feel some kind of way about that. So that's where we have Umoja. We have our book club that's starting. We have the House Community School, which are community classes that people can take, that are 4-week classes and 7 different courses that people can choose from. And that's over Zoom. And some of that will also be in person. So those are the sorts of things that we do programming monthly. We also partner with other organizations on programming that they have or events that they have as well. So the day-to-day, my day-to-day looks different in that a lot of it is the planning and the community engagement and working with people and figuring out, okay, what's going to be the next thing? Because the big events are so big now that they take a year to plan.
The plan. Yeah, it makes total sense. So with that, you essentially created something out of nothing, which is beautiful. What sort of advice would you give to new Black women leaders that are sort of, rising up in this generation in terms of when there is no template, right? When there's no one before you that you can say, oh, they did it. Let me just sort of tweak what they did. What advice would you give to them?
Trust yourself. When I first started thinking about the house being a nonprofit, I did a lot of research and I looked at a lot of different organizations. There were, social groups, there were game stores and comic book stores that were doing things, but there was nothing like this. We're even different in that our convention, our big con, we're not like other conventions. We're a nonprofit, and most every other convention like that, like a Comic-Con or even conventions that are localized, those are people that are making money from those. So you see the big stars because they have big money to give those people, and they know that people are going to come through the door. We are a nonprofit, which means that we're not making the money. We just want the nerds to unite.
Yes.
And it was scary at first because I was doing the research, not seeing anything, and realizing I'm gonna have to do this all, out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that said, it's never gonna work, there were a few of those. But I trusted that I think I can do this. And I think that my community can do this. And I know that they need it. So trust yourself. If you have all of those things in alignment and you feel good about it, there will always be people that say that you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, it's too hard, you'll never make it. Just trust yourself.
I love that. And we all need to learn how to trust ourselves a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in unprecedented times, right? So a lot of innovation and new ideas is needed. So I love that. So let's talk about thinking back to young Jade. What's something you would have told a younger version of yourself?
I would tell little Jade, wear those fairy wings. Keep that crown on your head. Don't let them take your Wonder Woman gauntlets.
I know that's right.
Because, you know, a lot of people will tell you once you get older, you have to stop doing this. You have to stop, you know, playing with the dolls, building this, reading the comics. There's a time for all of those things when you're young. No, the time is whenever you want to do the thing. I play The Sims. I'm still playing with dolls. I'm still playing dress up. And that's okay, because that's how I decompress. We have to have spaces where we find joy and comfort and relaxation. And I think that the hardest thing for me growing up was you had to keep working. You can't be lazy. I mean, I remember, don't be trifling. You have to be doing something. Put that book down and go wash those dishes. No, I need the book. The
Yes.
dishes can wait. But this fantasy in this book that's playing out in my head, I need that. So I would tell little Jade, no, 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 you keep doing exactly what you're doing, and it's okay.
I love
And
it.
go take a nap because you're tired.
Yes. Cherish the nap.
Yes, it's true. In the youth program in the Young History Detectives, we start the day off not at the crack of dawn. We start at 10 o'clock in the morning. We start with yoga and meditation. And they get 20 minutes to close your eyes and just take a nap if you need it. Because I need you rested for the thing we're going to be doing. And we don't tell our kids to do that. We also observe a 3 o'clock tea time where they know for an hour, get the yoga mat, we're turning the lights off. You can journal, you can read, you can listen to music in your headphones, or you can just go to sleep. They always want tea. I said it was tea time, and they hold me to it. Teenagers wanting tea in the afternoon it's actually a beautiful thing.
It really is. It's kind of dope. Yeah. You got
Yeah,
to get with that. Yeah.
but they need it, and so that I am really, really dedicated to making sure that our young people know the nerdy thing that you like and love, you can like and love it, even if the people in the community of nerds around you don't think that you belong there. You belong wherever you feel led to go.
Absolutely. Love that. Um, so there were no templates, Jade. However, I'm sure there were some people along the way that did inspire you. So can you tell us about a few of your sheroes that you've sort of admired and pulled from along your journey?
My mother, of course, my mother, she was the first nerd. Although she would never have, and still to her dying day, I am not a nerd. No, ma'am, I'm sorry. You're Bridgerton watching, everything British, PBS, tea in the afternoon, fantasy Jason and the Argonaut stories. You, my friend, are a nerd. So she she was a huge influence on me. And I have an incredible group of friends
Okay.
that many of them also would say that they're not nerds, but they are all nerds. And they are hugely supportive in magnificent ways. And I'm not gonna do myself harm by naming any of them.
Jade, you are hilarious. We need a comedy hour with Jade Rogers.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's wonderful. And I'm sure it's amazing to be surrounded by women that you respect and
Yeah.
can glean from, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to bring us to a close, but first, I want you to tell us about some upcoming events, activities, and things that we can sort of be on the lookout for. And then also tell us your website, tell us your socials. How can we engage with the house?
Well, Our first major event for the year will be May 10th, and that is our Black Fae Day. Black Fae Day is a celebration of all things fantasy. It was created, I think, in 2020 by Jasmine LaFleur I think she's out of Oklahoma. And she wanted to see more Black representation in fantasy spaces. So she started with herself and a group of people that she knew, and it grew from there. And we picked it up in Omaha, and we honor Black Fae Day, and we celebrate along with her. And we will be at Miller Park. It's a free event. We encourage people to come dressed up in whatever they want. It doesn't matter if it's a video game fantasy character, an anime fantasy character, a fairy, an elf, a wizard, whatever you want. We have vendors that sell elf ears of various lengths and of various hues.
Love it, love it, love it. And I think I mentioned to you, I will be home visiting during that weekend. So I do plan to attend, and I hope I can bring my niece, because it's open to all ages, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that will really be incredible. So that'll be awesome. And
then our Juneteenth Steampunk Tea Party, because it is the largest Black focused steampunk event in the country. I can't legitimately say the world because I don't know, but I feel like it is. But I will say in the country. And that is a celebration of Black Victorian excellence, where we encourage people, although you don't have to, but it is fun if you do, dress in Victorian, steampunk, or Western wear. And the theme this year, June 6th and 7th, is Victorian Wakanda.
Oh, lovely. That's going to be a lot of fun to see the creativity that comes out of that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So Jade, give us the website, give us your socials.
Afros, Capes, Curls.com is the website. Okay. You can reach all the socials from there, but it's House AfroCon on Instagram. I think it's House AfroCon or Afros Capes Curls on Facebook. I'm sorry, I don't really remember.
No, that's okay. If they go to the website, we can get some socials from there. Okay.
But I do know it's House AfroCon on Instagram.
Fantastic. And then finally, Jade, what in your own words does audacious mean to you?
Well, it's so funny that you choose that word. Being bold enough to try something in spite of barriers, in spite of naysayers, in spite of lack, and still believing that it can be done.
Love it, love it. Well, Jay, we want to thank you for your time. This was fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you
for being an audacious woman.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.